My mother-in-law loved to parade my rags in front of the family, but she didn't know her son had just spent our future on her luxury boots. That night, I decided to spend a little on myself, too. The silence in my husband Mark's car was so thick you could have sliced it with a knife. My hands were clenched in my lap, my knuckles white. I was staring out the passenger window, but I wasn't seeing the blur of streetlights. I was seeing my mother-in-law Brenda's face, twisted into a mask of smug satisfaction. I could still hear her voice, dripping with false pity, echoing in my ears. Let the daughter-in-law wear rags. It had been Brenda's 60th birthday dinner, held at her immaculately decorated, sterile-looking home. A home where every cushion was perfectly plumped and every surface gleamed, as if to silently judge the chaos of anyone else's life. For weeks, Mark had been stressing about what to get her. "It has to be perfect, Clara," he had said, scrolling endlessly through luxury brand websites. "You know how Mom is." Oh, I knew. I knew all too well. We'd been married for 3 years, and for 3 years, I had been Brenda's pet project, a fixer-upper. She'd offer backhanded compliments about my cooking. "It's so rustic." My career, a graphic designer, how fun. Is that like a real job? And her personal favorite, my wardrobe. Mark and I had a plan, a 5-year plan. We were aggressively saving for a down payment on a house. We both worked hard, we cut coupons, we skipped lavish vacations, and we had a strict budget. That meant my clothing budget was practically non-existent. I wasn't literally in rags, of course, but my outfits were from clearance racks, thrift stores, or were simply years old. I was proud of our discipline. It was for us, for our future. Tonight, I had worn a simple navy blue dress. It was a classic cut, something I'd had since before I met Mark. It was clean, it was ironed, and it fit me well. But in Brenda's world of designer labels and ostentatious jewelry, I might as well have been wearing a potato sack. The evening started with its usual passive-aggressive jabs. When I offered to help in the kitchen, Brenda waved a dismissive hand, her diamond rings catching the light. "Oh no, dear, you just sit and relax. I wouldn't want you to chip a nail. Oh, wait." She'd glanced pointedly at my unmanicured hands. The main event came after dinner, during the gift-opening ceremony. Mark presented her with a beautiful, expensive-looking cashmere shawl. She'd gushed appropriately, draping it over her shoulders and preening for the rest of the family. Then her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, landed on me. "Clara, that dress is certainly getting a lot of use, isn't it?" she said, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. A nervous silence fell over the table. My father-in-law busied himself with his wine glass. Mark's sister looked down at her plate. I felt a hot flush creep up my neck. I tried to smile to play it off. "We're being frugal, Brenda. For the house, remember?" Brenda let out a short, sharp laugh. It was a sound like breaking glass. "The house, of course. But darling, appearances matter. It reflects on the whole family. It reflects on Mark." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial, venomous whisper that carried across the table anyway. "You have to look the part to get ahead in life. But I suppose," she said, sighing dramatically as she leaned back, "if you can't afford nice things, you just can't afford them." She paused, looking around the table, ensuring she had her audience. Then she delivered the final blow, waving a hand in my direction as if dismissing a servant. "It's fine. Let the daughter-in-law wear rags. My son knows how to take care of the important people in his family." I looked at Mark, my eyes pleading with him. "Say something. Defend me. Defend us." He just shifted uncomfortably in his seat, a pained look on his face. "Mom, come on," he mumbled, his voice so low it was barely audible. It was nothing. A puff of air against a hurricane of insult. I felt something inside me crack. The humiliation was a physical weight, pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. We left shortly after that. Now in the car, Mark finally broke the silence. "Look, I'm sorry about my mom. You know how she gets. She doesn't mean it." "Doesn't she, Mark?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. It felt pretty intentional to me. "She's just from a different generation. She equates nice things with success. It's not personal. She called my clothes rags and insinuated I was an embarrassment to you. How is that not personal?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We'll talk about it tomorrow, okay? I'm tired. Let's just get home." He didn't get it. He didn't want to get it. Back home, I couldn't sleep. The words just kept replaying in my head. Let her wear rags. Let her wear rags. I felt small and worthless. I grabbed my phone, mindlessly scrolling through social media to numb the feeling. And that's when I saw it. It was a new post from Brenda from less than an hour ago. It was a picture, not of her face, but of her feet, propped up on a velvet ottoman. On her feet was a pair of stunning, knee-high leather boots. They were a deep, rich brown, with a gleaming gold buckle on the side. They screamed expensive. They screamed luxury. They screamed everything I wasn't. But it was the caption that made the air leave my lungs. It was the caption that made the blood in my veins turn to ice. A queen deserves a throne for her feet. My amazing son Mark knows how to treat his mother. A little secret birthday surprise he gave me last week. He knows true style when he sees it. Thank you, my wonderful boy. Spoiled, our best son, our luxury. My fingers trembled as I opened a new browser tab. I typed in the designer name I could just make out on the buckle. The boots appeared instantly. I clicked the link, my heart pounding a sick, heavy rhythm against my ribs. And then I saw the price. My vision blurred. My breath hitched in my throat. I looked at the number, then looked at it again, refusing to believe it. $900. And as I stared at the screen, I felt the full weight of his betrayal crash down on me. He hadn't just let his mother insult me. He had paid for her ammunition. The phone felt like a block of ice in my hand. $900. The number pulsed behind my eyes, a searing neon sign of betrayal. It wasn't just money. It was dinners at home instead of nights out. It was me mending the lining of my favorite bag instead of replacing it. It was the vacation to see my parents that we'd postponed, telling them we were so close to our goal. It was 1,000 tiny sacrifices, all bundled up and gifted to the one person who despised me the most. And Mark had let it happen. No, he had made it happen. I stood up, my legs feeling strangely disconnected from my body. I walked out of the living room and down the hall to our bedroom. Mark was already in bed, scrolling on his own phone, the blue light illuminating a face I suddenly felt I didn't know at all. He looked up as I entered, a flicker of annoyance in his eyes. Clara, I said I'm tired. Can we not do this right now? I didn't say a word. I just walked to his side of the bed and held out my phone. I watched his eyes scan the screen. I saw the moment of recognition, the widening of his pupils, the way the color drained from his face. He looked from the phone to me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. Clara, I can explain, he started, his voice a low stammer. Can you? I asked. My voice was eerily calm, devoid of all emotion. It scared him more than yelling would have. Can you explain how you spent nearly $1,000 of our house money on your mother a week ago, and then sat there tonight, silent while she publicly humiliated me for the very frugality that paid for them? It wasn't from the house money, he said, sitting up straighter, his defensiveness kicking in. It was from my bonus. It was my money. Your bonus? I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound that filled the room. Mark, there is no my money and your money. We are a team. We have a shared account, a shared goal. We agreed. Every extra penny goes into the savings account. That's what we agreed. It was for her 60th birthday. It's a milestone. I wanted to get her something special. Something special, I repeated, the words tasting like poison. I see. And what about me, Mark? What about my winter coat? The one with the zipper that's been broken since January? I told you I saw a decent one on sale for $80, and you said, let's wait a few months, honey, every penny counts. So I waited. I've been walking around in the cold with a broken coat, Mark, because I believed we were in this together. I believed in the plan, and all along you were planning to spend more than 10 times that amount on luxury boots for your mother. He had the grace to look ashamed, but it was fleeting. It was quickly replaced by anger. You're comparing a coat to my mother's 60th birthday? Are you serious? Sometimes you are so selfish, Clara. That was it. The crack inside me from earlier shattered completely. The calm evaporated, replaced by a cold, sharp-edged rage. Selfish. You want to talk about selfish. You let that woman mock me. She called my clothes rags, your wife, and you sat there, knowing you had bought her $900 boots. You validated her. In her mind, she's absolutely right. Her son buys her designer gifts, while his wife wears old clothes. It proves her point. It proves that I am less than, that I am not one of the important people in your family. Did you enjoy the show, Mark? Did you feel like a big man, secretly spoiling your mommy while your wife took the heat? That's not what happened, he yelled, throwing his phone onto the nightstand. You always twist things. You hate my mother and you look for any reason to start a fight. I didn't have to look very hard tonight, I whispered, the fight draining out of me, leaving a vast, empty coldness in its wake. He didn't get it. He would never get it. Because to him, this was a simple equation of a birthday gift versus a winter coat. He couldn't see the mountain of lies, disrespect, and betrayal it was built on. He had made his choice. He had shown me my value in his life, and it was less than the price of a pair of boots. I turned away from him and walked over to my dresser. I picked up my laptop and walked back to the bed, sitting on the very edge, my back to him. "What are you doing now?" he asked, his voice laced with wary frustration. I didn't answer. I opened the laptop, the screen illuminating my face in the dark room. I could feel his eyes on me. I typed in the password for our online banking. I clicked on our joint savings account. The number glowed on the screen. The sum of all our sacrifices, our future, the down payment for our dream house. Then I looked over my shoulder at him, my expression a perfect blank mask. "You know," I said, my voice as cold and clear as a winter morning, "your mother is right about one thing. Appearances do matter." He stared at me, confused. "What are you talking about?" I turned back to the screen and smiled, a chilling, humorless smile that didn't reach my eyes. "I'm talking about how it's my turn to feel important." My fingers flew across the keyboard, clicking on the transfer funds button. I entered a number, a very specific number, into the transfer amount field. I selected the destination account, my own personal checking, which had been dormant for years. Then I looked at him one last time before clicking confirm. Let's go shopping. The transfer successful notification appeared on the screen, a small green checkmark that felt like the starting pistol for a race I didn't know I was running. Mark scrambled out of bed, his face a canvas of disbelief and fury. "What did you do? Clara, what the hell did you just do?" He tried to grab the laptop from me, but I snapped it shut and held it to my chest like a shield. "I did what you taught me to do, Mark," I said, standing up and facing him. "I prioritized. You wanted to get your mother something special for her milestone birthday, right? Well, I have a milestone coming up too. My 30th. And I've decided I also want something special." "You transferred money? How much money did you transfer?" he demanded, his voice rising with panic. "Our savings? Clara, that's our house fund." "It was our house fund," I corrected him. "Now it's my don't let the daughter-in-law wear rags fund. Seems only fair, don't you think?" I walked over to the closet and pulled out an old duffel bag, the one we used for weekend trips that we never took anymore. I started pulling clothes from my drawers, not caring if they were folded, just stuffing them inside. "This is insane. You're being hysterical. You can't just steal our savings because you're mad at my mom." He followed me, grabbing my arm. "Stop this. We need to talk about this like adults." I wrenched my arm away, my eyes blazing. "Don't you dare. We are long past talking. You had your chance to be an adult tonight at that dinner table. You could have been a husband. Instead, you were a spectator. You bought a ticket to my humiliation with our money, and you sat in the front row. The show's over now." I zipped up the bag and slung it over my shoulder. I walked out of the bedroom without a backward glance. I could hear him shouting my name, but it was like his voice was coming from underwater. It didn't feel real. None of this felt real. The only thing that felt solid and true was the cold, hard knot of resolve in my stomach. I spent the night at a cheap hotel on the other side of town. I didn't sleep. I just lay on the stiff, scratchy sheets, staring at the ceiling and replaying the night over and over again. Every condescending word from Brenda, every moment of Mark's cowardly silence. The image of those $900 boots. By the time the sun came up, the rage had cooled into something much more dangerous: clarity. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I called in sick. Then I went shopping. But I didn't go to the high-end boutiques that Brenda favored. My plan wasn't about revenge in the way Mark would understand it. It wasn't about simply spending money to spite him. It was about reclaiming something I had lost. It was about rewriting the narrative Brenda had so carefully crafted for me. My first stop was a high-quality but not flashy department store. I found a stylist, a kind-faced woman in her 50s named Diane. I told her my budget, which was still substantial thanks to my late-night transfer, and I told her my goal. I want to look like myself, I said, but the best version of myself. Powerful, confident, unapologetic. For hours, Diane worked her magic. We didn't buy flashy designer logos. We bought timeless pieces, a perfectly tailored black blazer, silk blouses in jewel tones, trousers that fit like they were made for me, a classic trench coat to replace my old, broken zippered one, and shoes. Beautiful, elegant leather boots that cost a fraction of Brenda's, but made me feel like I could conquer the world. With every purchase, it felt like I was shedding a layer of the insecure, dowdy woman Brenda had tried to turn me into. I wasn't just buying clothes, I was buying armor. My phone buzzed incessantly. Dozens of missed calls from Mark, texts that ranged from furious to pleading. Clara, please come home. This is theft. I'm sorry, okay? Can we just talk? Don't throw our marriage away over this. I ignored every single one. My last stop was a salon. I had my hair cut and styled. I got the manicure Brenda had so pointedly commented on. When I finally looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. The woman looking back at me wasn't wearing rags. She wasn't meek or apologetic. Her eyes were clear and her chin was high. She looked like she knew her own worth. That evening, I drove to Brenda's house. I knew from Mark's frantic texts that he had gone there, probably to cry on his mother's shoulder about his crazy, hysterical wife. I parked on the street, took a deep breath, and walked up the pristine pathway to her front door. Before I could even ring the bell, the door swung open. It was Brenda. Her face, which was arranged in a look of concern for her son, instantly morphed into a sneer of contempt when she saw me. Well, look what the cat dragged in. Come to apologize for upsetting my son? I looked past her into the living room. I could see Mark sitting on the couch, his head in his hands. He looked up, his eyes widening in shock as he took in my transformation. I gave Brenda a slow, sweet smile. Not at all, Brenda, I said, my voice smooth as silk. I actually came to thank you. You were so right the other night. Appearances do matter. It was time I started investing in myself. I stepped into the house, my new boots making a satisfying click on her polished hardwood floor. I walked straight past her, my new trench coat swinging behind me, and stopped in front of Mark. I reached into my purse and pulled out a receipt. A very long receipt. I let it unfold, dropping it onto the coffee table in front of him. It listed every single item I had purchased that day. You'll find, I said, my voice ringing with a newfound authority, that the total comes to exactly $900, to the penny. It seems that's the going rate for self-respect in this family. Now, I turned to face them both, a triumphant calm washing over me. We need to discuss the division of the rest of our assets. The silence that followed my announcement was a living thing. It filled Brenda's sterile living room, pressing in on all of us. The long white ribbon of the receipt lay on the coffee table like a declaration of war. Mark stared at it, then up at me, his face a jumble of confusion and awe. He'd never seen me like this. I'd never seen me like this. Brenda, however, recovered quickly. Her sneer returned, tenfold. Division of assets? She scoffed, crossing her arms. Don't be ridiculous. You're not divorcing my son over a little spat. You threw a tantrum, you stole his money for a shopping spree, and now you're going to come home and be a proper wife. I didn't even look at her. My focus was entirely on Mark. Is that what this was, Mark? A little spat? I asked, my voice dangerously soft. Is that what you told her? Did you tell her how you let her call me an embarrassment? How you agreed with her, with your silence, that I deserved to wear rags while she deserved luxury paid for with our future? Or did you just tell her his hysterical wife overreacted? Mark winced. He couldn't meet my eyes. He looked at his mother, then back at the floor. That was all the answer I needed. He had run straight to Mommy and painted me as the villain. Of course he had. I'm not asking for your permission, Brenda, I said, finally turning to face her. My new confidence was a shield, and her hateful words bounced right off it. I'm informing my husband of our next steps, and what I do with my half of our savings is my business. Just like what Mark does with his half is his. I gave a pointed look at her expensive boots, which she was wearing, of course. He's already shown us what his priorities are. This is absurd, Brenda shrieked. Mark, are you going to let her speak to me this way in my own home? Mark finally stood up. He looked from his mother's furious face to my calm, resolute one. I could see the conflict warring in his eyes. For 3 years, he had lived in the middle, trying to appease both of us and succeeding at pleasing neither. But the middle ground had just vanished. Mom, he said, his voice shaky but firm. Stop. Just, for 1 minute, stop talking. Brenda's mouth dropped open. I think it was the first time in his entire life he had ever told her to be quiet. He turned to me, his eyes full of a regret so profound it almost made me feel a flicker of pity. Almost. Clara, I'm so sorry. You were right. Everything you said last night, you were right. I was a coward. I sat there and I let her hurt you, because I didn't want to deal with her reaction. I prioritized her feelings over yours, over our marriage. And seeing you standing here now, I realize what a colossal fool I've been. He took a hesitant step toward me. Last night, after you left, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that broken zipper on your coat. Something so small. I could have fixed that. I could have bought you a new one. But I was so focused on the big goal, the house, that I stopped seeing you, the person I was supposed to be building it with. The boots. They were a mistake. A huge, stupid, selfish mistake. I was trying to buy her approval, I guess. The same way I always have. Brenda let out a wounded gasp. Mark. He ignored her. Please, Clara, he said, his voice breaking. Don't do this. Don't throw us away. The money, I don't care about the money. Keep it. Spend it all. It's nothing compared to you. We can fix this. I can fix this. I'll go to counseling. We'll go to counseling. I will do whatever it takes. I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you and proving that you are the most important person to me. His words were everything I had wanted to hear for years, but hearing them now, in this house, with this new armor on, they felt different. They were a start, but they weren't a solution. The wound was too deep to be healed with a single apology. I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the desperate, scared man underneath, and I made a decision. No, Mark, I said, and watched the hope drain from his face. We are not going to just fix this, because this isn't just about the boots or the money or the fight. This is a pattern, and I'm done living in it. I took a deep breath. I'm not filing for divorce today, but I'm not coming home either. I've already put a deposit down on my own apartment. His face crumpled. Brenda looked triumphant for a split second until I continued. I'm going to live on my own. You're going to go to counseling, on your own. You need to figure out how to be a husband without being a son first. You need to learn how to set boundaries with your mother, not for me, but for yourself. And I need to learn how to be a woman who knows her own value, without needing anyone else's approval. I looked at Brenda, whose face was now a mask of pure fury. And you, Brenda, you are going to learn that your son is a married man. His loyalty is to his wife and the family they are building. You don't get a vote anymore. I turned back to Mark. If, and only if, you can do the work and show me that you've truly changed, then maybe we can talk about rebuilding. But we're not rebuilding the old house, Mark. We're starting from scratch, on a new foundation. I left then. I walked out of that house with my head held high, leaving the wreckage of their dysfunctional relationship for them to sort out. It was the hardest and most liberating thing I had ever done. The next few months were a blur of therapy for him and self-discovery for me. He kept his word. He went to counseling. He started standing up to Brenda, who, after a few epic tantrums, slowly began to realize she'd lost her grip. He didn't just apologize with words. He apologized with actions, respecting my space while consistently showing me he was committed to changing. And me? I found a strength I never knew I had. I wasn't the daughter-in-law in rags anymore. I was Clara, a woman who bought her own damn boots. And 6 months later, when Mark came to my apartment door, not with excuses, but with a real plan for our future, a future built on respect, not just savings, I finally opened the door and let him in. We were starting over on a foundation of our own making.